Welcome to the fourth video of trigonometry. We're going to talk about basic properties of trigonometric equation. Here we have a trigonometric circle, so the unit of radius is 1. This is an angle alpha of a point M, for example. This is sine alpha, the projection on the y-axis. This is cosine alpha, the projection on the x-axis, and this is an angle 90. So we can apply Pythagorean theorem. So cosine square alpha plus sine square alpha equal to 1. So this is the first basic formula of trigonometric equation. So cosine square alpha plus sine square alpha equal to 1. Now if you divide this by cosine square alpha, all of that, cosine square over cosine square alpha is 1. Sine over cosine is tangent, but since it's a square, tangent square alpha, 1 over cosine is secant, but because I'm dividing by cosine square, it will be secant square alpha. And if you divide by sine square here, here, and here, you're going to get cosecant square is equal 1 plus cotangent square alpha. So we need to memorize these three basic formulas, so I have put it here. Cosine square alpha plus sine square alpha is 1. Secant square alpha 1 plus tangent square alpha. Cosecant square alpha is 1 plus cotangent square alpha. Now in the first application problem, they gave us secant x equal to 4 and x is between pi and 2 pi. This is pi and this is 2 pi. So we're talking in the third and the fourth quadrant. But secant is positive, I need to find all the rest of trigonometric function. So if secant x is 4, so cosine x will be the inverse 1 over 4. Since cosine x is positive, we know that cosine here is negative, the x-axis, here it's positive. So we're talking in the fourth quadrant. So we are on the fourth quadrant. They gave us secant, or you can use cosine. You can use this formula to find sine. You can use this formula to find tangent. And I have used the second one. Both will lead to the same answer. So secant square x equal 1 plus tangent square x. So I need to find tangent square. Tangent square will be secant square x minus 1. So 16 minus 1 is 15. Okay. And since I have a square, I remove the square, I put plus or minus, because you have a square. If x square equal to a, x equal plus or minus a. So here I have plus or minus, but since I'm talking in the fourth quadrant, and we know in the fourth quadrant tangent is negative. Because negative, so it will be minus. And if I want to find sine x, tangent x, I need to find now sine x. We know that tangent x equals sine x over cosine x. So what will be sine? It will be tangent cross multiply by times cosine. So minus radical 15 times 1 over 4, it will be minus radical 15 over 4. Another example, I have cosine x equal minus 1 over 3 and x between pi and 2 pi. Similarly, it's either in the second or in the third. They gave us cosine. Cosine x is negative, so I'm here because here cosine is negative, here positive. So they gave me cosine, so I want to use this one. Or I can use this one, I put minus 3 instead. However, if I use this one, cosine square x plus sine square x is 1. Sine square is 1 minus cosine square in 1 minus 1 over 9, same denominator 8 over 9. Here sine you all know is negative, so if you remove the square it's a plus or minus radical 8 over 9. Because sine is negative, so minus 2 radical 2 over 3. I need to find tangent. Tangent is sine over cosine. If you divide 3 and 3 cancel out, it will be minus and minus cancel out 2 radical 2. Now in this example, they gave us cotangent x. So, and x between 0 and pi, so I'm here. Cotangent is negative, so I'm in the second quadrant. So I can use this one directly. I have cosecant square x equal 1 plus cotangent square x. I need to find cosecant square x. It's 1 plus minus 2 all square is 4, 5. I know that sign here is positive, so cosecant must be positive. So cosecant x equal radical 5. And sine x will be the inverse 1 over radical 5. My aim is to find now cosine. I know cotangent is cosine over sine. Okay, so to find cosine, so it's cross multiply cotangent times sine. Cotangent times sine, it's minus 2 over radical 5. Some simplification. Simplify. We know this is direct. These are the formulas, as I said. Tangent x cotangent x is 1. This is the basic formula. Or it's sine over cosine, s over c, sine over cosine, times cosine over sine. So cosine, cosine cancel, sine, sine cancel, it's 1. Secant square x minus 1, look here, secant square x, if you take the minus 1 to that side, it will be tangent square x. Secant times cotangent, we know that secant is 1 over cosine. Cotangent cosine over sine, c and c cancel, it's 1 over sine, which is cosecant. Here, sine times cotangent. Cotangent is cosine over sine. S and S cancel, remains cosine. Now I have secant square x minus tangent square. Take this one to that side. What do you get? 1. Here I have this one. Multiply tangent times cotangent. We know it's 1. Tangent times tangent is tangent square x. 1 plus tangent square x is what? Secant square x. Here, we know that sine square plus cosine square is 1 plus tangent square x. So what do we get? Secant square x. Cosine square x, secant is 1 over cosine, cosecant 1 over sine. C and 1 c up cancel, remains cosine over sine, which is cotangent x. Here, tangent over secant minus cosine. We know that tangent is sine over cosine. Secant is 1 over cosine. We do same denominator. So it will be 1 minus cosine times cosine, cosine square over cosine. C and C cancel out. 1 minus cosine square is sine square x, if you bring that to that side. Sine over sine square is 1 over sine, and 1 over sine is cosecant x. So I hope that you got everything. This is trigonometry. Remains one video I'm going to do for graphing trigonometric functions. Thank you for listening.